Shout out to our sponsor, Shari's Berries. If you're in the US, Mother's Day is this weekend, and Shari's Berries is offering huge, freshly dipped strawberries for just $19.99 plus shipping. To get them, visit berries.com, click the microphone in the top right corner, and use the code THEKNOW so they know we sent you. Welcome to The Know, I'm Ashley Jenkins. EA made a huge splash yesterday during their Q1 earnings call with investors, in addition to talking about all things BioWare. More on that in another story later today. Battlefield 1 approaching 19 million players, that's a lot of players, shattering Battlefield 4's numbers, and the huge success of FIFA. They also talked a little bit more about this fall's Battlefront 2, and according to EA, the game is going to be massive compared to the previous entry in the series, with more than 3 times the content of Battlefront 1, if they're to be believed. Content was definitely a huge complaint about the first game. A lot of people didn't feel like it had enough to offer to keep them going, and EA has said in previous earnings calls that they planned for the sequel to be even bigger. So this is definitely a good sign for fans who felt the first game had promise but was kind of lacking in that department. Now, do we have our first actual look at Red Dead Redemption 2? Possibly? Well, maybe. It's a blurry off-screen look. A screenshot showed up on the GTA forums this week purporting to be an off-screen glance at Rockstar's next Western epic. Posters on NeoGAF noted that the posing of the characters on screen is pretty similar to what we saw from a separate character in the trailer Rockstar debuted last year, although he is in different clothes, so who even knows at this point? But hey, maybe it's from that Wild West Far Cry game that's probably not set in the Wild West at all, possibly, but hey Montana. Either way, Rockstar kind of needs to hurry up and show off more of this thing. You know, we're getting kind of desperate when we're arguing over blurry screenshots and what they all mean. Don't make us wait for E3, Rockstar. You don't play by the rules. But Red Dead Redemption 2 wasn't the only off-screen look we got at one of the year's most anticipated games, because yesterday a similar screenshot showed up for Assassin's Creed Origins, RIP Empire, I guess, which can't seem to stop itself from leaking lately. The newly leaked screenshot sees the game's assassin manning the sails of a small boat on his way to assassinate someone known as the Crocodile. Well, hopefully it's someone called the Crocodile and he's not actually just running around assassinating crocodiles, because that seems like a waste of an assassin's talents. While normally it's pretty easy to shout fake at these kinds of early looks, Eurogamer has confirmed that it's the real deal based on what they know from their sources. Some other history nerds have done a little bit of sleuthing based on some other text on the screen, which mentions following someone to Kenet's villa, Kenet being a queen during the 5th dynasty of Egypt, which may place origins around 2400 BC. Now, you might still be plowing through every nook and cranny in the massive world of Hyrule and Breath of the Wild, and who can blame you? But Nintendo is already gearing up for what's next for Link and Company. Series producer Eiji Aonuma recently did a sit-down with Japanese publication Nikkei, where he talked about what gamers should expect for Nintendo's next Zelda run. In the interview, Aonuma claims that part of what inspired so much love for Breath of the Wild was that it was so different from previous Zelda entries, which made it much more surprising for fans. And according to him, he'll be making sure the next Zelda game continues in that regard. Aonuma said, "It's not an easy thing to be able to answer expectations of all our users, but through this game I recognized again that the significance of continuing to create the series is right there. So in the future, I'd like to repeat doing great fusses and providing surprises that exceed everyone's expectations." Aonuma, you can fuss all you like, we're in. Switch developers have been getting a little bit of flack for what's being unaffectionately called the Switch tax, when multi-platform games end up costing more on the Switch than they do on other platforms, which has become kind of a troubling trend. Fortunately though, one of the first developers to institute the Switch tax seems to be trying to make things right. Greybox, the publishers of Rime, which was originally going to cost about $10 more on the Switch, have released a new blog post about some price changes coming to the game. In the post, they state that the digital version of Rime will drop to $30 from $40, matching its cost on other platforms. However, they say they can't lower the cost of the physical version since the cartridge itself is what drove the cost up. So instead, they'll be packaging a download code for the game's soundtrack for anyone who buys it physically. This is definitely a good start to buck the trend, and one that hopefully doesn't piss off retailers too much, since prices for games will be lower digitally than physically, which is what all of the different platforms have been trying to avoid, so that the retailers don't pull out altogether and stop selling their stuff. Because, well, while physical is like on the downtrend, the platforms do kind of need it. Now, in other third-party Switch news, it looks like EA may be bolstering their Switch offerings pretty soon. As part of the earnings call we mentioned a little bit earlier, CEO Andrew Wilson talked about the success of Nintendo's new console, saying, "We feel really good about it. Again, we came out early and said that we'll be supporting the Nintendo Switch with our biggest title in FIFA. We have a tremendous relationship with Nintendo and have done for many, many years, and are excited by the fact that they have come out very strong and are bringing in a whole new player base into the ecosystem. We continue to be bullish on it and are looking at other titles that we might bring to the Switch." So, I don't know, Battlefront 2 maybe at some point? Let's just leave Mass Effect Andromeda where it is, at least until it's fixed. Also, you weren't all that bullish because you were like, we'll give it FIFA and then we'll wait and see if anyone buys one before we commit anymore so that we avoid a Wii U. That is called cautious, not bullish. But we'll give it to you if you bring all your games, alright? Now, will the Persona 5 streaming restrictions be around forever? Probably. It looks like that's the way things are going. In a post on NeoGAF, user Dan2026 says he was listening to the Super Best Friends cast today, and they confirmed that according to Atlas USA, these streaming restrictions will be enforced in perpetuity. You might remember that when Persona 5 released worldwide last month, Atlas told streamers not to stream it past the in-game date of July 7th. Anyone who did, Atlas threatened, would be subject to a DMCA notice and possibly strike their entire channel. This prompted a public outcry, and Atlas later backed down, kind of, saying the streamers can now go until November 19th in the game, which apparently is just before the final act really kicks off. But it looks like that's as far as Atlas is willing to compromise, because if your game has fans, why wouldn't you threaten them? It looks like Bryan Singer is bringing the X-Men universe to television. I mean, more so than you would with like Legion, like the actual like X-Men universe. The Hollywood Reporter is saying that Fox has ordered a drama called The Gifted, which will be executive produced by Singer. The show involves a couple who discover that their kids have mutant powers and have to go on the run from the government, and their journey ends up leading them to team up with an underground network of mutants. Singer, who directed many of the X-Men movies, also directed the show pilot and is set to debut in the fall. The upcoming series adds to Marvel's growing roster of TV shows. It includes Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Inhumans on ABC, as well as FX's Legion, Freeform's New Warriors, Hulu's Runaways, and then, of course, there are all the Netflix shows involving The Punisher, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, then they all mix up in The Defenders pretty soon. At this point, we're really not sure there's any room left on TV for shows not involving superheroes, which I'm okay with, for now. Especially when you, like, add up all the DC superheroes. Good lord. The director of the upcoming Metal Gear Solid movie is really into Metal Gear, and he's making sure that people writing the movie have a good idea what the series is all about too, which, even for the passionate fans of Metal Gear, is not an easy task. In an interview with Glixel, director Jordan Vogt-Roberts talks about how when he was looking to hire a writer, he set up a Metal Gear crash course in his home for all his applicants. That included making them play the original Metal Gear, then Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation, Metal Gear Solid 2, and finally Metal Gear Solid 5. So they all live with him now. Vogt-Roberts said he wanted applicants to understand the series' stealth gameplay and to see how far it's come over the years. Oh, and Vogt-Roberts also got to meet Metal Gear creator Hideo Kojima recently, who he described as his idol. No word yet on when the Metal Gear Solid movie might actually come out, but it sounds like it's in pretty good hands if he's that passionate about it. Donald Glover may not have gotten to be Spider-Man, tragically, but he's bringing another wisecracking superhero to the small screen. Variety reports that Glover and his brother Stephen Glover will create an animated series based on Deadpool, which will air on FXX. The first season, which will be 10 episodes, will debut in 2018. Now, you might know Glover from his appearances on Community, or more recently, his acclaimed show Atlanta, where his brother also works on the writing staff. Deadpool, of course, broke into the mainstream big time last year with the debut movie, making nearly $800 million at the box office and starring Ryan Reynolds as the Merc with the Mouth. Interestingly, Zazie Beetz, who also stars in Atlanta, has been cast as Domino in the Deadpool sequel, and Donald Glover will star in SpiderMan Homecoming, which hits theaters in July, so this is all gonna get very confusing very fast. But at least they love it. An 11-year-old in Florida not gonna have any problem staying up late to marathon Grand Theft Auto 5 after he discovered that his used copy of the game had a bag of meth inside. According to the kid's mom, who apparently is okay with her 11-year-old playing Grand Theft Auto, said that her son bought the game at a GameStop in Tallahassee, and when he brought it home, he found a plastic bag containing a white substance. Kotaku reported that police later confirmed that it was, in fact, meth. You might be thinking, hey, well, that's pretty fucked up, but this is not the first time that people have discovered drugs inside used games. Last year, pretty much the same thing happened to a kid in Lake Charles, Louisiana. He bought a used game at GameStop and found a bag of meth inside too, so apparently that's a really popular place to keep it. But this Florida kid should probably look on the bright side. At least his copy of GTA didn't come with a prostitute. But seriously, don't let your kids play GTA, not at 11, or they will probably use the meth to buy a prostitute. Alright, that's all the news we have for you guys today. Let us know what you think of these stories in the comments down below. Make sure you like this video so you see all of our stuff in your feed. And if you're new around here, subscribe to The Know. Thanks to Sherry's Berries for sponsoring this update. Mother's Day can be kind of stressful if it sneaks up on you, and it's this weekend, so get it sorted out now. Sherry's Berries is offering freshly dipped strawberries for just $19.99 plus shipping, or you can double the berries for an extra $10, and if you do that, they'll throw in some free cake truffles too. Then there might be enough left over so you can have some. Then you just set the arrival date. They're guaranteed to arrive fresh and tasty or your money back. It's not a bad deal, and they're really, really good. We get them in the office when we do these promotions, and these ones right here, we have to write on them so that people don't eat them, and sometimes they eat them anyway. It's a tough life. So they're really good, trust me. They've got different kinds there. There's dark chocolate, there's chocolate, there's one like little chips on them. There's ones that have chopped nuts, there's white chocolate with a nice drizzle. It's hard to pick a favorite, but I'm gonna say dark chocolate. To check them out and order berries for your mom or for yourself, because you deserve to treat yourself as well. Visit berries.com, click the microphone in the top right corner and enter code THEKNOW so they know that we sent you over.